Thanks, Count Corla. Taoiseach, you are making a serious and reckless mistake again. You're risking the health of hospitality workers who are mostly unvaccinated. You're risking hundreds of unnecessary deaths, thousands, tens of thousands of potential cases of long COVID, and you're risking a fourth wave and another lockdown which people would find utterly demoralising. Taoiseach, I have two specific questions to ask you. One, has NPHET agreed to your alteration of their recommendation by saying that the children under 18s of parents who have been vaccinated are now allowed to go into indoor hospitality? Obviously, they're not part of a family bubble once they're inside in a pub or a restaurant, eating or drinking and not wearing a mask. How does that make any sense, and has NPHET agreed to it? And secondly, can I ask you, how is there still no legislation, 500 days after the first case of COVID in Ireland, no legislation in relation to ventilation? There's more talk about it, there's more reference to guidelines, that's great, but if you don't actually bring in legislation, it isn't worth a whole lot.
Thank you, Deputy Murphy. Now, Taoiseach, I'm not quite sure yet how many minutes are remaining. There's not very many.
I'll just say generally, in response to this issue, that there are choices facing government and facing the Oireachtas. We can decide not to open indoor hospitality at all. That's a decision we can take. Is that what people want us to do? If so, please articulate that. I think Deputy Murphy's of a view that we shouldn't. I think he's been straight about it. I don't know what Deputy Boybart's view on it is. I don't know what delay means. Do we do it or delay until vaccination? Fine. NPHET are of the view that if we restrict it with a verifiable and enforcement approach to the vaccinated and to those who've recovered from COVID, that's a safe way of doing it. And that's what the legislation reflects. So we're doing this in the context of public health advice. Now, public health advice did not reference children. Take that point. But the children will be part of a family bubble. They will be part of a family bubble in terms of dining out. They can't be drinking for obvious reasons, given age, in a pub, but they will be in a family bubble. And it's in line with public health advice. Sorry, not that in terms of the issue of the vaccinated and the recovery from vaccination. That's all has been proceeded with in the first phase of this reopening of indoor dining and indoor hospitality. And there is no desire to be divisive at all, but there is a desire to protect. That's the only issue here in terms of not allowing the unvaccinated indoors. It's not about mandatory vaccination, nothing to do with that. We have managed outdoor hospitality well since we've reopened it, and it's gone well, insofar as it can go. The next phase will be more challenging and more difficult. I do not underestimate the Delta variant. I think it's very serious. But we're not similar to where we were prior to Christmas, because we have substantial vaccination achieved already, both in first doses and in terms of people who are fully vaccinated. And this is about balance, and there are risks involved. It will require vigilance. It will require adherence on the part of all of us. It will involve personal responsibility to adhere to the law, to adhere to the basic principle of if I'm vaccinated, I can go indoors. If I've recovered from COVID, I can go indoors. That's very, very important here to facilitate this latest phase of the reopening of our economy and of our society. And I think it is about balance, and it's in line. And in terms of workers, it's also about protecting workers in terms of the Chief Medical Officer has been very clear that they will obviously have protections, but also it will be a vaccinated cohort of people that they will be serving, which significantly gives obviously added protection.
Thank you, Taoiseach. That brings us to the end of Taoiseach's questions.
In respect of long COVID, that's a very serious issue which I take very seriously, and we do need to follow through and do some more research in terms of the number of people who could get long COVID and the long-term implications.
I'm afraid the time is up. Thank you very much, Taoiseach.